support of their branches. Whether it involves organizing bags and bundles and restocking the ongoing book sale shelves or hosting COVID-safe in-person sales this summer and fall, our friends group found opportunities to continue their. When you visit your favorite brand, you may use resources such as furniture, children's literacy materials, and technology, and a lot of that are thanks to the generosity of our friends groups. While many volunteer opportunities were curtailed due to COVID safety regulations, our volunteers found new ways to continue their work. Many learned how to use online platforms so they could facilitate online programming on topics ranging from gardening to English language learning. Others returned to the branches as soon as restrictions were lifted to help organize and reshelve returned materials. I am so impressed by the creativity and determination displayed by our friends and our volunteers over the past 18 months, and I'm very pleased tonight we can all be here to recognize this. So before we even get started, let's just see around. Start with the Friends Choice Awards, and if you haven't been here before, these are individuals who are friends, and they are recognized and written up by other friends, other members of their friends group for this award. And I'm going to start with the people who indicated that they would be here tonight. So when I call your name, and as I'm reading your name in the comments, please come on up. Now, I also understand that since I'm in this arrangement, so we'll just, everybody will get their award. So first, Ann Galt from the Friends of Oakton. A longtime Friends board member whose experience and wisdom inform many of the group's decisions. She maintains a monthly newsletter notifying the open community of library and friends events. She revised the method of distributing the newsletter and also created a web page displaying her keen eye for detail and attractive person. In addition, she serves as the membership chairperson. She also keeps the grounds and gardens beautiful. And she is a true asset. Thank you. Do you want oh, that's right. They are written by the friends group, so we're going to read them. So the next is Mary Columbine, Friends of Oakton also. So Mary currently serves as the board's second vice president. She has a keen knowledge of books and value and works closely with Barbara to find and sell the most wanted books we can get. Mary is an active community member and has reached out to neighbors and friends to increase our selected book donations. We are incredibly grateful for her continued efforts.
Well, this is where I have to be, so you guys are good. Yes.
Funny to smile. Barbara. It's a Barbara. So Barbara has worked tirelessly as book sale chairperson throughout these challenging months. Just personally retrieve previous donations to create attractive displays for our sidewalks, bags, and bundle sales in various locations. Barbara also coordinates other volunteers for these events while working daily to keep our ongoing sales shelf stocked and online titles updated. Barbara has been invaluable in keeping our community active and relevant. This was 2 years ago. Yes. Yes. What else did you do?
All right.
Hey, Fran, from all your friends online, please talk into the mic.
I feel like I'm shouting here. When I was a children's librarian, I wasn't going to shout like that. So I have to go back to that. So the next winner, recipient is Lily Miller, Friends of the Columbia Regional Library. Lily began volunteering with the Columbia Friends by helping with our fall and spring book sales before the pandemic. The Columbia reopened with strict mandates. Lily returned to help with our ongoing book sales. Columbia Friends appointed her our youth volunteer coordinator. A senior at Lake Reddick Secondary School, Lily excels in many areas and maintains a grade point average of 4.275. Wow. She takes 5 AP classes and has earned an academic letter for all 3 years of high school so far. In March 2021, she received the Above and Beyond Award from the Capital District Key Club International. Lily has also volunteered to pack meals for food insecure children, worked to feed people experiencing homelessness during hypothermia prevention week, and worked with the summer lunch bunch program to distribute lunches in low-income neighborhoods. These are just a few examples of Lily's generosity as a volunteer and how she works to make a difference in the school and the Fairfax County community. So Friends of Columbia appreciate her dedication and service. Now, the following, I believe, are attending virtually. Judith Lutz, Friends of Woodrow Wilson Library. Judy has been a volunteer at Woodrow for a decade and co-coordinator of the book sale team since 2016. She has recruited a core of loyal and committed volunteers, including them in all aspects of the project, such as planning, pricing, rotation, special sales, and donations to other groups and organizations. During the pandemic, Judy was a one-person team, sorting donations, rotating merchandise, and determining special interest offerings. Her hard work kept our offerings current and of interest to library users. Judy's contributions to the Friends have been above and beyond expectations. So Judy, if you're out there, thank you. Kate Wilkins, the Friends of the Burke Center Library, also indicated that she would attend the purchase. Oh, I see her. Kate has recently signed on as the second treasurer in the 20-year history of the Friends of the Burke Center Library. As a mother of small children, she has brought a fresh perspective to our group. She works with our large donated collection of children's books and has helped with our 2 book sales help since August. The Burke Center Friends are so grateful for Kate's hard work and dedication. Thank you, Kate. I have 3 names. Dorothea Bruckner, who is attending virtually. Gisela Cardi, who I'm not sure is virtual or live in person, and Ann Squire. Who's not able to attend. And these are from the Friends of Sherwood Regional Library. And Dorothea and Gisela have done an amazing job keeping the Friends book sale going throughout the past year. Whenever the library is open to the public, they ensure there is a strong book sale presence too. and sends periodic updates about book sale activities to members by email and to the general public via the Mount Vernon patch. All three of them keep the collection fresh by sorting books and changing displays. They have also prepared and organized for the return of book donations. Without them, the Sherwood book sale would not be in such great shape. So thank you very much. The next one is Kelly Bennett, the Friends of Patrick Henry. Kelly began volunteering as a friend in April 2019. She jumped in 100% to assist on an upcoming book sale, organizing materials, setting up a volunteer program, and doing everything else that was needed to make it successful. Even with a full-time job and family, she continued volunteering weekly. She ensured the next book sale's success by coordinating all the efforts, working with the community, and leading all the volunteers. She has been extraordinary and has supported Patrick Henry, and we all appreciate her dedicated service. Thanks and congratulations, Kelly. Also from this is Kings Park, from Sonia Burke. It's a pleasure to nominate Sonia for a Friend's Choice Award. In a year of uncertainty, stress, and limited library access, Sonia has always been there when needed, cheerful, willing to help, asking to do more. One recent example involves our ongoing book sale. In the past, we did not offer nonfiction, but Sonia took the task of adding it. She organized it, stocked and restocked the nonfiction offerings, rotated such as in and out, and set special sales of select items that were not working well. This is just one example of Sonia's very successful and valuable service. So, Sonia, thank you. Margaret Weaver from the Friends of Kingstown Library. Margaret has been a cornerstone of the Kingstown Library Friends since 2007. Over the years, she has served in many roles, including book sale chair, secretary, and finally as president for the past 3 years. In addition to spending countless hours assisting with book sales, Margaret handled critical tasks such as drafting our budget, supervising our investments, and ensuring that we stay in compliance with audit regulations. She recently stepped down as an officer of the Friends, and we have a renewed appreciation for the many tasks she managed. We thank Margaret for her many years of service and the wisdom she continues to provide. Moving on to the Star Volunteer Awards. They've been nominated. These are library volunteers, and the nominations are from library staff. And I'm starting with the virtual list. Sandy Noizzo, Access Services. While the pandemic affected everyone and created hardships for many, the low vision community was affected more than most. Finding reliable, timely information about safety, best practices, resources, and testing for COVID-19 became a challenge for all of us, but it was especially so for those with low vision who often could not see details, identifying the information providers, and determine if the sources were reliable. Sandy, the leader of the Rest and Vision Impaired Persons Group, known as the VIP, stepped up with her team of fellow VIP veterans to provide a lifeline to the low vision community, not just in Fairfax, but across the country. Sandy lined up guest presenters, coordinated Zoom presentations, provided a forum for conversation, and sent out regular links to the low vision community to enable them to be informed and supported as they navigated the world of the pandemic. Working an average of 13 hours a month, Sandy acted as the scout for the low vision community, finding resources and connecting our communities to them. She has been tireless in her efforts and presents everything she finds in a cheerful and encouraging manner that engages people across a wide range of demographics. So Sandy, thank you. The next Star volunteers are from the Patrick Henry Library and maybe not. Pat Irons and Lisa Sherwood. As we all pivoted to provide programming to the community on Zoom last spring, two of Patrick Henry Library's hosts of the Friday English Language Learner Conversation Group stepped up to volunteer so we could continue this popular program. Since May 8th, 2020, they have gracefully, reliably, and enthusiastically led our weekly group meeting with 9 to 10 participants. The program fills up as soon as it opens for registration. It even includes participants who relocated out of the area during the pandemic that continue to attend this library group. Pat and Lisa spent time preparing for each session and created a handout and distributed it in advance to address topics of current interest and related grammar or vocabulary. We are very grateful for their good cheer, their moderating skills, and their stamina. So the next star volunteers indicated that they would be here today. So from the John Marshall Library, Donald Ward. Don has been one of John Marshall's bright points during the pandemic. He was our first volunteer to come back and brave the stacks, eager to help in any way we needed. Don started volunteering for SEPL in 2018 when John reopened after renovations. Don and his wife have books in every room of their house, and he credits his love of books and reading with interest in volunteering at the library. He began volunteering by helping with book sales and processing donated items, but over the past year, he has spent his time pulling items from our unusually long holds list, hunting for missing items, and jumping in for any other tasks that have come up. Don has been committed to visiting us 5 days a week and says he counts his time at John Marshall as a blessing. The branch staff is there, but it's a deal for not only is Don a huge help each morning, but he also comes in with cheery hellos and enthusiasm for the library. We cannot say thank you enough to Don for all that he does for John Marshall. So. The next one is from Public Regional Library, Karen Hutch. In the middle. Okay. Karen has been volunteering at Public Regional Library since 2018 as a pick list volunteer. In 2019, she volunteered to join the pilot for a new Library Buddies program. This program is library volunteers with partners from various Fairfax County assisted community group homes supporting individuals with developmental disabilities. Since that time, Karen has met with a rotating group of 3 residents of the library once a week. When the library closed to the public due to COVID-19, Karen volunteered to work with one resident in particular via Zoom. Each week, Karen researched various topics of interest to this individual and brought that material to her weekly meetings, to the delight of her buddy. Her presentations, including a Zoom show and tell from her own home, featuring relevant objects of mutual interest. Karen worked through various technical challenges with our own staff and county staff at the partner group home to connect with this resident. Through it all, Karen constantly showed good spirit, community commitment, creativity, and perseverance. She is an outstanding volunteer and a leader and a model for this program. From the Thomas Jefferson Library, Jennifer Henderson. Jennifer Henderson has been one of TJ's dedicated circulation volunteers for the past decade. Jennifer comes in every Tuesday morning with a smile and a tuck in her step, ready to pull library materials from the pick list. She also sorts and bundles the holds onto other branches and shelves the holds for our own customers. When the circulation department is short-staffed on a busy Tuesday morning, Jennifer is willing to take on an additional task that pulls the unclaimed hold from the holds shelf. During her shift, she plays an important role enabling the circulation staff to meet the day-to-day demands of working the checkout desk and providing customer service to the public at our busiest time of day. Story.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. She has an outgoing personality and gets along with everyone. The circulation staff greatly appreciates her work ethic and the hours of service she has given to the library. All right. Now, from George Mason Regional Library, we'll have to do things. George Cody. Dr. George Cody has been leading the monthly current issues discussion group at George since 2018, and he volunteered to organize and run the program. And then in 2019, he started a second group at Great Falls. George spends hours each month preparing for these discussions. He researches a theme, writes a background article, provides discussion questions, and moderates the meetings. His warm and engaging style encourages all participants to share their ideas. His exceptional commitment to the current issues discussion group is the reason for its success. When the library closed to the public due to the COVID-19 pandemic, George asked to keep the group going meeting virtually. He quickly learned Zoom, and we held the first virtual meeting April 8, 2020. Over the past year, the virtual monthly meetings became a place for attendees to check in with one another as well as discuss current events. The new format helped us reach new participants who could not join the group for in-person meetings. Thank you, George, for keeping the current issues discussion group going in this difficult time. And finally, we recognize a community partner. The Dominion Valley Garden Club at the Burke Center Library. And the individuals are Stephanie I'll stop. Carol Burke, Marty Amin, Patricia Dowler, Mary Jo Hensler, and Sue. This really is long. It's a whole page. But it's I'm a gardener, so I love this stuff. Several years ago, a member of the Dominion Valley Garden Club offered to present a program entitled Seed to Sprout, which illustrates what is needed for a seed to germinate and grow. This program is now an annual event during which the Garden Club members enthusiastically share their love of gardening and connect with youth in our community. Now that could be enough, right? But no, there's lots. A new partnership venture presented itself when the library began planning a pollinator garden in an existing flower bed, both to raise awareness in the community of the need for more habitats for pollinators such as bees and butterflies, and to serve as a science lab in connection with library programs. Garden Club members eagerly provided their expertise and guidance. They created a design, recommended plans, and helped with installation and maintenance. They applied for and received a grant from the National Garden Club's Plant America Community Projects Grants Program to sponsor the purchase of a sign that defines the purpose of the garden. As a bonus, we have created an iNaturalist project that brings technology into the equation. Library visitors can take photos of observations and upload them to the Burke Center Library's iNaturalist project after identifying the species. The lantern, the bird, that's the lantern. The staff at Burke Center Library have received many compliments and expressions of gratitude for the addition of the garden from the community. When the garden was planted in the fall of 2019, no one knew what was around the corner at the beginning of 2020. The garden is now in its second year and serving to help not only the Burke Center Library's natural environment, but also the cultural environment. During a time of social distancing, So wait a minute. I'm starting again. No. Oh, I think I didn't get to all this. During the time of social distancing and fluctuation in library services, the garden was one project that helped us stay connected with our community. We are extremely grateful for the contributions that the Union Garden Valley Club has made and continues to make to this project, and we look forward to our partnership continuing to. Okay.
Right, I can.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's give all of our friends and our volunteers. So, heartfelt thanks from all the trustees as well as the staff and fellow friends and community. Thank you again. And now, before we start our meeting, there's time for a little break. And that way we have two places to go. Hope that was loud enough.
Brian, we've just had a note online that BC's Friends Choice Kate Wilkins has just signed on, and she has been recognized. And is there any way to pick up? No.
We just did.
This is our friend, our phone.
Yeah.
Ah, Kate Wilkins. Yay, welcome. Kate has recently signed on as only the second treasurer in the 20-year history of the Friends of Burke and our Legacy. That still impresses me. The first time I read that, I was like, oh. As a mother of small children, she has brought a fresh perspective to our group. She works with our large donated collection of children's books and has helped with the 2 book sales that we've held since August. The Burkes and our friends are so grateful for Kate's hard work and dedication. So thank you, and thank you for coming. Anybody else? All right, once again, thank you everyone, and we will adjourn for about 5 minutes and then we'll start our business. We'll call the trustees meeting to order. The library board wishes to provide an opportunity for the public to comment on library-related issues. It is our policy to hear a maximum of 10 speakers at each regularly scheduled board meeting. Speakers are limited to one public comment during the 6-month period. Each speaker has a maximum of 3 minutes for their comments. A 30-second warning will be given before each speaker's time is up, and the speaker will be expected to end promptly when time is called. Speakers are requested to pre-register with the library director. However, if there are available public comment slots open at the time of a board meeting, the remaining slots may be filled by individuals registering at the meeting. Board members will not question or respond to speakers. Tonight, we have one registered speaker, Victoria Carney. If anyone wishes to speak at a future meeting, please call the director's office at 703-324-8324. So our speakers, the podium is yours.
My name is Victoria Carney. I have been a resident of Fairfax County and a cardholder of the Fairfax County Library System for 45 years. A few years ago, I visited my local branch and was surprised to learn my card had been canceled. No notice had been given and no reason was forthcoming. I had to pay a fee to reinstate my card, which, by the way, was in violation of Virginia statute. A few weeks ago, the same thing happened. No notice, no explanation. The library has never had to file an incident report on me. I was simply canceled. In researching, I found no documents that address cancellation of library cards. I found a document that was updated September 8th that says, for most customers, there is no card fee and no expiration. The Board of Trustees policy manual cites the Code of Virginia, which requires that the service of books be free and made available to all persons residing and or owning property within Fairfax County. It wasn't until I got to the FY 2021 adopted budget plan that a section labeled performance measurement results told me what I needed to know. The performance measure objective is to maintain the circulation of all materials at current levels and circulate at least 10 items per capita per year. Bingo. Because I have not checked out books lately and am not contributing to keeping the per capita circulation rate high, I was canceled. That appears to be in direct violation of Virginia statutes. I am a genealogical researcher and have been for the last 20 years. My focus is on historical books, most of which are not Virginia-based. Most of the information I glean from FCPL materials is from non-circulating reference books or online databases. Online access is not possible without a library card. Maybe your policy question, should blocked library cards be blocked from internet access, relates to that. Who knows? I would also like to address the shortcomings of FCPL when it comes to service. A few weeks ago, when I visited the Dolly Madison branch, I approached the reference desk where there were 3 employees to ask for some help.
30-second warning.
I stood there while they continued giggling and discussing personal matters until finally acknowledging me when I said, excuse me, could someone help me? I also wrote to Director Hudson about these same issues. Just so I'm clear, you've done away with late fees on most overdue library materials because it is too much of a risk for lower income families. You are spending nearly $77,000 taxpayer dollars to hire a behavioral health specialist for FCPL. Since when did assessment, diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of mental illness, substance abuse, and other addictions become part of FCPL's mission? then I have my library privileges canceled for not checking out the books. Consider me an angry taxpayer.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from September. We have a motion. Bill? Have a second? It's good if you use your microphone so I can hear you. Okay, is there any discussion of the minutes? All those in favor of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are passed, thank you. I do not have a report, I've talked enough. We moved on to committee reports. The Library Foundation, Liz Walker.
All right, I attended my first meeting of the Library Foundation on September the 14th. And there were 9 new members that had been selected to be directors on the foundation, and plus myself as an ex officio member. So most of the meeting, we did a lot of information in terms of background on the budget, but the foundation has an operating budget of a little bit under 150,000 that they carried over from last year into this year. So they're in good shape. And again, this is the first part of the fiscal year, so there wasn't a lot of expenses to report against the budget. With the 9 new members, the foundation now has a 24 voting members out of a total maximum of 30. And the new foundation board members are quite a nice selection of people throughout Fairfax County that are going to add a lot of value to the board. One of them in particular has a background in strategic planning, and so he spent a lot of the meeting explaining where he was going with the long-term strategic planning process. The other thing that came up was that for staff development and undergraduate next scholarship applications, the deadline is January the 15th. And we recently, if you recall from that last meeting, I mentioned that the Mamma Mia was going to be the community feature at Chantilly High School. They netted a little bit under $1,500 for that, and about 150 people attended. That's about it for me on my report. Oh, I have one more thing, I'm sorry. As a foundation member, I received a report from the foundation, and I was wondering, as a board member, do you also? Okay, good. Thank you. That's it.
And the budget committee, Kevin, Keith, okay, word.
Yes, good evening. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, very good. We're going to, first I want to talk about the budget submission process. Basically, this year, fiscal 2023, the budget was flat for the past year. But we also put in a request in our budget transmittal memo that we're going to vote on tonight to ask if there's additional funds available that we get, and I'm summarizing here to be brief, that we get more budget for to increase our selection of materials up to 20% of the library's budget, which is a goal that we've set. In addition, we also asked for funding for full-time equivalents of full-time people to staff the libraries for consistent hours. And 2 years ago, we asked for a phased-in approach. The first year, we did get some funding to help with that, and we're asking for them to, if there's additional funds, to fund the next phase of that plan for the extended hours. And then the third request was for the addition of a full-time person as a behavioral health specialist to support the social work needs of the library. Again, these are if additional budget is available. The last thing we did is we notified the board about the board's vote to remove the late fees for overdue library materials. So with that, I'd like to ask for a motion to move forward with this memo to the board. Second. All right, any questions, comments, discussion? A discussion.
Ask a question. Just because this was raised a few minutes ago, could Jessica just share a little bit more about the burden of libraries with providing way more than library services, especially now, and kind of the creation of a position of someone to help with that?
Yes, I'd be happy to talk about that. As we all know, our libraries are open to anyone in the community to come in, and our librarians and all of our staff are not social workers, but we are often asked to function in many different ways, including supporting people's mental and social needs. So we asked in the original fiscal year 21 budget packet for the addition of a full-time social support position. And that was supported by the county's then Deputy County Executive for Health, Housing and Human Services, because we often coordinate with them to assist people to come into our facilities and have those needs that our staff are not capable of meeting, nor do we want them to try because they are not the subject matter experts in those areas. So this is our second attempt to get a position to do that. It is not to replace the services that our staff currently do to support general library operations. It's instead to allow them to actually do that work without the burden of trying to do the things that we're not actually trying to do. Yep.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? To pass.
The director's report. We had scheduled Priscilla to make a report about the schools, but she's going to do that in November, right? Oh, I miss Jane Outreach, which is so. Sorry. Jane.
Working hard this week, it's fine. Very briefly, at our last meeting, we talked about the fabulous annual report. I believe it's been printed, and so we will all get 10 copies to start with. And we would like you to think about not only your supervisor's office, but what other community leaders are in your district who might really enjoy knowing a little bit more about the library, or who could potentially enjoy knowing more about it. They just don't know it yet. So please use the annual reports as a bridge builder and a way to connect with people who could be potential supporters or users of the libraries. And hopefully you're going to need to get more than 10 copies. We're going to try to really push these out this year. The board members are in a great position to do that. So Erin will send the copies to the library branch of your choice. She'll send us all an email tomorrow, so we can quickly just tell her which library is most convenient, and then she'll let us know when it's time to pick them up. So please go forth and conquer with these gorgeous annual reports. And our next outreach committee meeting is going to be either early December or end of November. We're in the middle of scheduling that right now. Thanks. Any questions about outreach? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and now the next item on the agenda is Priscilla for the school report, which we've added to our regular agenda for quarterly reports. But you're actually going to make that next month, correct?
Yes, because I anticipated being absent to this meeting, and then my plans changed and I was able to attend at the last minute. So thank you for indulging me, but I will give a report in November.
And just reminded that we have a new person and I forgot to welcome our newest trustee, Sue Park. I would like to welcome to her first meeting. Now, the director's report.
Fran? So one of the things I wanted to start out with was to thank you all for your flexibility in rescheduling our location and our meetings around this updated Friends' Choice Awards and our Star Volunteer Awards. Usually our Star Volunteer Awards are in April, and we had halted that for a little bit due to pandemic restrictions. And you all were very gracious in allowing us to kind of squeeze them both together into this one and to bring it back to the George Mason branch instead of going to Kings Park like we usually do. You're seeing today is our dry run at this video conferencing system. So please consider it a test case as we work out all the kinks. And extra super thanks to all of our hardworking staff here today who are doing the testing and running interference for folks as it goes through. So thank you. We're hoping we have all the kinks worked out so that when this is a more normal part of your process, it's seamless. And then as part of that, as part of the Friends' Choice Awards, some of you may know that next week, it's October 17th through the 23rd is National Friends Library Week. And I'd like to thank the Burke Center Friends and Brian for participating in a Channel 16 video thanking our friends and supporting National Library Week. The video is currently being closed captioned, and I anticipate being able to share that with all of you later this week. The items that are part of your packet are just little reminders and updates. Normally, over the last couple of years, we've held our Food for Fines program in November or December. But as we close in on the end of the year and the elimination of overdue fines associated with overdue items, we were planning to not do it this year and instead refresh it and launch something in the spring of next year. That's also in alignment with the needs of our partner group, Food for Others. People are remarkably generous during the holiday season, including our own library patrons, but they have a greater need in the spring. So we're gonna launch it again next year and it'll be food for food. Just bring in some food. We don't have a slogan yet. Some of you also know that my beloved Deputy Director, Christine Jones, who is in the packet, so don't laugh at me too much, is going back to a branch position that she greatly misses and loves. The current Deputy Director recruitment is open, and I'm hoping we'll have somebody new in that place by 2022 that I'll be able to introduce to you in the new year. So this is Christine's last meeting with us in her current position. I will not cry because that's not, we've got 2 more days in admin for that, but she has been remarkable. And I hope you all will join me after the meeting in giving her a faraway pandemic hug because she's been great. She's been great in her job. She's been an excellent advocate for our library staff and a wonderful liaison for all of you. So my thanks in advance at the end of the meeting to Christine for her many years of service in this position and for however long we'll have her as the branch manager of the Tyson Center Library. And to queue up Fran for November and December, the countywide strategic plan was approved at the last Board of Supervisors meeting in early October. That is a document that's planned to be a vision statement for the next 10 to 20 years for our county. And although our library system is required to have its own separate library-specific annual report in order to be eligible for state aid, we are going to have to align with that document. So now that it's all done and drafted and stamp of approval is given, that will be a guiding document for both whatever library board committee comes forward and any staff committees that are drafting our next 4, 5, 6 year plan. So just a heads up, if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, it's there's a lot of meat to it, and there are a couple of specific areas that are really areas where the library can enunciate itself over time, including cultural and recreational opportunities, education and lifelong learning, and efficient and effective government specific. So it's a great document, have some fun reading it, and we'll definitely talk more about it in 2022. Fran, that is the end of my report. Oh, sorry, Liz.
I don't know what the next steps are from the approval that we did from last month on the fees. And we talked a lot about having a campaign of communication. is that already started in terms of the planning?
Yes.
And at some point we could hear about it?
Yes, I'd be happy to give a brief update now. So you all approved the statement on fines and fees with a philosophical change. We still need to update your actual policy. So we'll be bringing that back to you all in November as a consideration item, action in December, and then it will go into effect January 1. So, and that's lovely because it actually aligns with mid-year for the county so that we can move things along at a clean cut place on the budget side of things. Staff have already started talking about some marketing and communication efforts that are very closely aligned with some of the hopes and concerns that you all identify. We want to ensure that however we put this out to the community, it is not inviting a wholesale interest in just never bringing our stuff back, because you're still going to get billed if you don't bring things back or if you damage them. There's still a need for people to remember that these are shared community resources. You shouldn't just keep them because you're not going to get fined on them. So we're definitely thinking through all those things and talking about how to best convey that. I'm particularly fond of a little slogan that we've been hunting around right now for the holiday season, many happy returns. Yeah. So, and that is 100% stolen from another library system who did this. So I don't remember which one it was, but I will happily credit them when it comes back. So yes, we're working on it. Yes, we anticipate coming back to the board with more information as it solidifies.
Okay, something that I've been thinking about since yesterday, and I'm not sure what the answer is, but I was wondering, is there a measure, a metric that we could establish that would show the return books are much more frequent or happening, you know, as some kind of a metric that maybe a year from now that we could show the Board of Supervisors or our communications. That was one of the things that we were saying as a benefit.
Yeah.
And in the statistics, it talks about check-in, check-out. Is that check-in books and check-out books?
Yes.
So maybe that would be one of the metrics we could be tracking
Yep.
to see if we see a remarkable difference.
Yeah, we track a lot of data, lots of data, and one of our own staff here today helping out with the VTC stuff is in charge of much of the system side of things. So we're going to continue to look at how we can best pull that info and convey it back. But some of the basics we'll be able to say we've had an increase in check-ins, we've had an increase in items returned that were long lost. We've had an increase in patrons who have returned to the library that hadn't previously used the library system because they had lost items. So we're hoping we'll be able to build you a really nice kind of anecdotal story that goes with the data. So it's easy to share that.
I hope it's as positive as we expected.
All fingers crossed. Yes.
Thank you.
So with the strategic plan as far as the library and the role of the trustees, we want to just say a word or two about that because we'll be setting up a committee for that, right?
So the strategic planning process will likely take place through a good portion of 2022. Last year, the last time we did this 5 years ago, it was about 9 months. And we had concurrent library board committees and staff committees. So the staff committees did a lot of the legwork and the boots on the ground stuff, and then brought it up to the board committee for review, discussion, amendments, and any changes you'd like to solidify before final approval by the full board of trustees. That seemed to work pretty well last time. We'd be happy to do something similar. But if I'm remembering correctly, Fran, we were thinking you might appoint a strategic planning board committee sometime in December-ish.
That's what I was thinking about too. And I wanted to say to trustees that if you have an interest in that, to let me know so that I don't just like, make a dartboard and throw darts and pick on somebody. Because a lot of people, we're sort of a small board. And so when we get committees, we need to make sure that we are distributing the workload and actually, if you have a special interest in that kind of thing, would really like, it's so hard to talk to everybody all the way around and make sure that everybody who has a real interest in that. So we can talk about that more later. Any questions or anything that anybody else wants clarification on? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, we have our action item, which is the remote, approving the remote participation policy, which was a consideration item at the last meeting. And as you may remember, it's not really open to changing or anything because it's a county policy. So I would like to ask for a motion to accept the action item. So, second. Thank you, Suzanne. Is there any discussion? We can still talk about it. Suzanne?
I know you just. Sorry, I know you
Just said we can't change anything. I just wondered if our official name is the Fairfax County Library Board or the Library Board of Trustees. They use Fairfax County Library Board in the text.
So this.
This document was drafted entirely by the county attorney's office, so I would keep the language exactly as it stands.
Okay. Question?
So I'm looking at, I see the on the background, the Library Board of Trustees, but then.
Staff wrote the cover letter, but the policy itself.
Oh,
was drafted
the
entirely
big
by-
one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have that.
Fran, oh, when you're ready, I have a question.
I think Suzanne, will you finish? Okay, all right, Liz.
Just I wondered, what constitutes a quorum here? Because it talks about having to have a needed quorum.
I know it's in the bylaws, I don't remember exactly.
It's 50% plus one of the appointed seats. So when you have a full board of 12, it's 7.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of accepting the action item, please indicate by raising your hand saying yes. Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, the motion is passed. Thank you.
May I add something? No? Yeah? Okay. So now that you've approved this particular policy, we will add it to your online policy set. And the way that this works is if a member of the board has a medical condition or a health condition, you do not need to notify the chair or the director about what it is. You just have to let someone know that you have a need to meet from your home or not in person, and you can meet as many times as you'd like, both for committee meetings and full board meetings virtually. If you have a personal need that is not medical or health in nature, you can meet up to 2 times a year for full board meetings, and then it's a percentage of committee meetings virtually as well. You do have to indicate a reason if it is not a medical or health condition, such as I am traveling or I am at an off-site work location or something like that. Because we have to ensure quorum, you need to notify the chair and the director as early as possible that you are not able to attend or that you prefer to be in a virtual setting so that we can ensure that there is quorum in a in-person meeting. So when I send out notification asking for new business items, that'll be an opportunity, like if you know you're not going to be able to attend or you want to attend virtually, to notify the chair and myself. So we'll send out more in writing, but I wanted to make sure that was public as well about the 2 versus the full.
When we've been in totally virtual meetings, of course, we have those 3 pro forma motions.
Yes.
That go down, and they're written out for the chair to read. I know that here it says we've got to make sure, first of all, that the chair is allowed to do this, say yes or no, and that the person can hear and back and forth. Are you going to write out some pro forma?
Yes, if you have virtual attendees of the board, not people who are viewing that are not members of the board, you will have to make virtual motions to ensure that the audibility of all members is there for folks. So the virtual meeting script lives on. Sorry.
Okay, anything else? Anybody? Okay, great. We'll move on to new business. Last month, we didn't have time for a report on the United for Libraries conference that a number of the trustees attended. This is their newsletter. That's what it looks like. It's part of the American Library Association, and it's intended for trustees and advocates, friends, and foundations. So Brian and Suzanne and I were able to attend virtually, and so I thought it would be fun to share some of the things. One of the ones that I went to was a program on the life cycle of board members. So I thought I would share that with you. They used a timeline concept where someone might be a prospect for the library board. So in a way, those of us who maybe have served for a while could be sort of scouting around the community about who's been really active and might be a good addition to the board when it's time for our term to be over. Then we go into new members and the issue of onboarding or orientation. I think that we do a great job of that. I remember when I started, it was a really good orientation session. I think we've continued that. And then a new thing that was suggested was a mentor assignment, which I thought a clever little name would be board buddy. And I asked Brian if you would initiate that. So Brian is our newest trustee, Sue Park, has a board buddy in Brian.
Let me say, I didn't approve that name.
And the chair is open to anything to improve on it, yes. I know other organizations have they call them mentoring programs for new members. And so, something like that. And what it is Sue knows that anytime she wants to, she can call Brian with a, what is this all about kind of question. And as well as, it's nice to say, oh, you can call any of us, but it's nice to have a specific person who knows you might be calling them, I think. So we're going to see how that goes. How can we get you started and really get you feeling like you're part of the board and that anything you want to ask is completely okay. Then you become a seasoned pro. So I thought I would ask each of you to see, where do I fit into this? So really the only next category is seasoned pro. So, but it's also talks about deepening the relationship that you have on the board and with the issues and with libraries, really becoming really more part of things. And then seeing if you want to get on the leadership path, heading up a committee, and then moving up into the other elected positions. And a good way to start that is, to be on committees. And it was, I know when we had the virtual committee meetings, it was really nice to be able to attend meetings so easily from home. And now we're moving more into in-person meetings. I think it makes it harder, but I hope that everyone knows that go to the website, the trustees website, and you can see when the committee meetings are, and every member, every trustee is invited to every meeting and to participate, just so that everyone knows that those meetings are open. And then for the board to develop a sort of a talent pool, like who's really good at this and who's really good at that and who would be really good on this committee, which is why I'm asking, let me know about your interest in the strategic plan, if that's something that you'd be interested in. Because otherwise I sort of call me, hey, you want to do this? And it's like, oh, okay. No, but it's really have some intentionality behind it. And then when we cycle off the board and become a former member, I don't think that we have actually tapped into using our former members as advocates for the library, but those are actually perfect people. They know a lot, they have special skills that they brought to the board and that were they either honed on the board or developed. And a term for that could be a sort of emeritus board. So I was thinking that, if you know the person who used to be in your position and you want to call them up and see, I'm looking at you, John, sorry. I can see like call up Charlie, who was on the board for a really long time, and see, hey, do you want to be an advocate for us at budget time? So I think that's an important thing for trustees to remember, that not only in terms of people who used to be on the board, but people that we know in the community. That's an important role for all of us to be playing, is that you tap people to be advocates. So I would recommend that each of us assess our performance. Are we highly engaged, moderately engaged, or just along for the ride? And personally, I don't think we have anyone who's just along for the ride, because it's such a small board that you get tapped, everybody needs to contribute, and everybody does. The final point, which I really liked, was that we can think of ourselves as ambassadors, advocates, and askers. So kind of keep those three roles in mind. That's pretty much what I got out of that program. I thought I had a lot of, short, but pithy and good stuff. So anybody have any questions or comments on that?
Could you repeat the three things that begin with A?
Just advocates, something.
Ambassador, advocate, and asker. Ask for money, I think. I don't know. Or ask for support, ask for, all those things, not just money. Okay, and so, Brian, would you like to talk about what?
First of all, I'd like to make sure that all the trustees take the opportunity to join the ALA and the United for Libraries sub, I guess they call it, because it really does have good information. There were a lot of nice panels here. Fran asked me specifically to talk about one that was called Every Volunteer and Advocate, Empowering Boards and Friends for Action. And they had a lot of good information on there. One thing they had was a Google spreadsheet that they recommended, a kind of a check sheet that talks a lot of the things that Fran mentioned, how can our library help the community? Who else can join our team? Where are we missing representation on the board or in our committees and so forth, which is good. And the best phrase that I took out of it was to keep your library glasses on at all times. And I think it's catchy, but it makes some sense. I try to. Anytime I go anywhere, do anything, I keep a few of these in my car. If I'm at a doctor's office and they have magazines, one of them ends up being a library magazine. Just always kind of get that feel that you're thinking about the library and the board. And I think it'll help us in the long run. There were a lot of other good sessions too. I really enjoyed the What's More Punk Than the Public Library T-shirt that impressed the heck out of me. The people in DC, I forget what library it was. I wrote it down, but was it Mount Pleasant? It was awesome, and they made I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ridiculous selling T-shirts. So we can't use that phrase, but we can certainly use it on. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity. Now, Suzanne?
It really was a terrific conference, and I listened to some of the ones that the others listened to, but I'm going to mention adding diversity in library collections. This is for you, Diane, and I'm assured that we're already doing many of these things. The Cedar Rapids Public Library talked about looking through the Newbery and Caldecott books, and there really is a lack of diversity in the winners of those books, and things are getting a little better now, but these are the books we keep year after year after year and encourage parents to read to their children, but there's a real lack of diversity in those winners. So they gave us a figure, only 22% of children's books in 2018 represent non-whites. They also looked at YA books, young adult books, and they've worked to increase diversity in their children's and young adult book collections. And Jessica assured me that we are doing that. But this is something I guess you don't really think about as a library board member, but as we are trying to be more things to everybody, this is something that's important to look at, and hopefully more authors are out there who are writing on diverse topics, and we'll also win some prizes one of these days, so they can be long-term in print books. Newbery and Caldecott books don't go out of print like many, many, many children's books do. So how can library supporters push for diversity? We could put this as part of our library goals. And I think this is something we should be thinking about, is the diversification of the collection. We could do an audit, if we haven't already done that, of what we have in our collection and use those figures to improve our collections and have as many materials as we can for the variety of people we serve. I have notes on so many of these talks, but I was going to suggest also that maybe Mount Pleasant Library people might want to do a program for, if we have another Friends Forum one of these days, because they had some really terrific ideas on fundraising outside of just book sales. And since they're just across the river, I'm sure it would be too difficult to get them to come and speak. So I'm hoping that will happen sometime once we're having more in-person meetings. So. And I would encourage you, if there's another one of these conferences, to really try. It's really easy to do it when they're online because you don't have to pay money to go somewhere. And there were really some terrific people speaking. So thank you, Jessica, for arranging for so many of us to attend.
To ask you, I wanted to ask when they mentioned why, like, was there a discussion of why there is lack of diversity in the collections? Was there any discussion of, was there any ownership and select of that, of what the selection bias is, what the history is, what, yeah?
Not really, just that it was definitely there, and it may just be, because in the 1920s, when some of these awards started, there weren't that many Black or Asian or Latino, Latinx authors, and there are more and more every year. I
I
can't
noticed as well.
remember one this year, but a couple of years ago.
They've been diverse for a couple of years.
Yeah, but over the first, from the 20s to the 60s, I wrote that number down. But there were only one or two. I did not write that down, but there were just very, very few diverse authors.
It's worth interrogation, like why? Because only once you interrogate it, do you come up with because libraries just collect the books, right? So the books have to be there.
Right.
Books have to be written, they have to win the awards, and then they're collected, right? So it's just curious. Thank you.
But
I think this year's Newbery was an Asian American story with the grandmother and the relocated family. And then I don't know if this year was the Native American story about the river and water, or if that was another year. But it was a beautiful story.
There have been, for quite a few years, there have been much more diversity than has been, for eons past, right? For sure. But again, since libraries are collecting materials that are being written and collecting awards, the books have to win. So it's not just the libraries, right? Those issues are well beyond the scope of just the library, So it's not just it is a collection issue, I'm sure.
Even left. Yeah, it's not just the collections, obviously. The reason what buys in the collections, but that's really what I'm getting at, whether there's just a disaggregation of that issue.
I think publishers are realizing they have more, and so hopefully they are looking for a more diverse, stable authors. And I kind of got the feeling that are you seeing that, Diane?
This is it's a much deeper issue. The diversity in publishing is, there's a report that Lee and Lowe puts out every couple of years. They recently did an update indicating that the diversity in publishing still is lacking in many, many ways. What we have been seeing as a trend is a lot more self-publication for those who have been outside the tradition of publishing. They turn more to self-publishing, entrepreneurial style, if you will. And libraries have become much more open to self-published, where previously those didn't get reviewed as well or as frequently. Libraries had actual policies against buying self-published, which exacerbated, and so we've never had that at this time, to my knowledge. But they're harder to ensure the quality that we want. And so that's why a lot of libraries, they simply didn't have the time to invest, and now we are putting our money where our mouth is, as it were, and we are moving more into removing those barriers in the self-publishing area as well. So, yeah, there is a pipeline issue as well.
I think we're ready for a roundtable, and I think I'll start with Jane, and then we'll go around that. Okay, Jane, you're.
Just a quick thank you for all the work and preparation that went into our joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors yesterday. Technology notwithstanding, I thought it was a great meeting, and I was really encouraged that they signaled support for us to go fines free. That was important to a lot of us. So I just congratulations and thank you. I just want to echo what Jane said. Very successful meeting. Thank you all. Thank you, Jane, for your comments, and a lot of heavy lifting from Jessica. Thank you. And nothing else to say.
Yes, I'd like to echo what you said about our joint meeting yesterday. Not being on video, I had a chance to listen to it, and it sounded very positive to me. And I'm happy to report that the Reston Friends had the first big book sale in 2 years, and it was well attended. I don't have any how much money they made, but I know that they were very happy, and now they're gearing up for their holiday sale and their puzzle sale. And I also want to say I've already picked up this branch out at one of the libraries, and if you haven't had a chance to read through it, you know, I thought, oh, this is going to be nice. It kind of tells what we're doing. It's really an in-depth magazine with all kinds of interesting things, not just, it's what we're doing. You know, it's expanding access is the topic of this magazine, but oh, there's so much interesting information there. And one thing I realized that we can get technical support by just making an appointment with one of our reference librarians. And so somebody who's always needing a little bit more information, I can hardly wait to. I think it's 4 sessions that we're allowed at 45 minutes a piece, and it's not going to cost $95 an hour, which I'm already paying. So please read this, and I think get it out in the neighborhood, as Brian said, not just at the supervisor's office, but you know, any group you're in or any doctor's office or wherever you can read magazines, because these are fantastic. Yes.
So I have a few things I'd like to share. First off, I just wanted to say that thank you to what I understand is a test case of the wizardry of technology that's happening at the moment here. I was just so impressed with the setup. I know Margaret Cossage, Robert Harvey, Bobby Connors, and Diane Cohn were on it today to make sure that this was a wonderful experience for all. And I especially want to give a shout out to Diane, because I did observe her very kindly making sure the camera was not obscured by people standing in front of it, which contributed to the pleasant experience. It's a little awkward, but you know, masterfully. I think my theme for my shout outs today is really about connection. I'm looking this way, and I just have to say that I had the opportunity to visit Cunningham Park this past week, and where Jane supports the library there, and the librarian Meg Brinkhausen. I knew it was going to be a bucket filler to be there, and it absolutely was. And if you want to see some really masterful engagement with 5th and 6th graders who define the word squirrely, then I invite you to join Meg and Jane in Parks. Another connection that I just had to say, I found someone that I used to teach with, Sally Miller and her husband, about 10 years ago. And Lily Miller, who you all met, who's the absolutely amazing student senior at Lake Braddock Secondary School. I remember her when she was like 6 years old. So that was just amazing to see. And I just think, Lily certainly is an extraordinary human being. You can tell that already, but I've just been struck recently with all of my interactions with students. And, our adults, sometimes we got a long way to go, but our students, they are amazing, whether they are pre-kinders with their, dealing with the math situation to high schoolers who are forging their way. I'm just so proud of our students in FCPS. And then the last thing I wanted to say as far as the connection is that I was just honored and thrilled to spend some quality time with our Jessica Hudson over the past couple of weeks. And we had the honor of being invited to be the kickoff teacher for a 5-session online course sponsored by School Library Journal and Library Journal. I'm going to share with the title because it sounds super impressive. The whole course is Resilient Together, Building School and Public Library Partnerships. And we were actually recruited to be this opening act. Our session was Building Relationships as a Foundation for School and Public Partnerships. And I just want to say publicly that it was so super fun to do that session, but every minute planning and doing it, it just made me feel so appreciative of everything that Jessica does as the leader of our fine and wonderful public library system. And that I just am so grateful that we can be partners and that we get to share that with, a large number of people across the nation, which was just super fun. So, thank you.
In the fall of 1971, Sherwood Regional Library became the 13th library in the Fairfax County system. And since that time, it's become a real leader in technology innovation. Many of you have seen the lab there and collaboration with neighborhood groups and other libraries. And I know what I'm talking about because I've lived less than 2 miles from the library for 48 years. And Saturday, the library is going to celebrate its 50th anniversary. And the friends, 3 of whom were honored here tonight, are sponsoring outdoor entertainment, which includes children's performers and the Mount Vernon High School varsity singers and a mariachi band. And inside the library, there'll be a scavenger hunt, children's crafts, paper making activities, and a historical display of the 50 years of the library's existence. And if you haven't seen the tech lab, that there will be people there to demonstrate that. That's this Saturday from 11 to 3.
So this is my first meeting. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being so kind and welcoming me aboard. And I am I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone and participating on the board and hopefully making a difference somehow. So thank you.
I think we did a good job yesterday with the Board of Supervisors, but I would like possibly through outreach, and maybe you said it, I missed some of the things because I don't hear well, but I think we ought to still work on those items and, through our committee, or maybe try to get to the Board of Supervisors individually to push the 3 items that we itemized in our report to the Board of Supervisors.
I want to echo what everyone has said. So first, I really do want to say that you guys did a really wonderful job yesterday. And Fran, I wanted to actually say that I was so happy that when you got the chance to speak, when you made it so that you let them know about the library segregation project, and that you got that in there, so that it was on their radar, and I know that that's going to be something that they can see. But I'm so glad that you put it on there. I think that it was really a masterful work that they presented to us last month, and I'm so glad to hear that they're turning it into an ebook that is going to be available to all of us, the whole country, because really I think that when we collect all of these stories and we make them accessible to everyone, and we just really do learn how we got from there to here, we are much more likely to go from here back to there. So thank you very much for making sure that you got that in there when there's so much duress, and really a fantastic job yesterday. I could tell, you could tell from all of the reactions, from everything that every supervisor said, how much they appreciate these libraries and that they recognize what a great job that they do. And I agree with Phil that we really just need to keep on making sure that they know. And I think John Fallon is saying, he always is saying that he just wants everybody to know all the stuff we do. So, I guess that's our job, but we did a great job yesterday of presenting, and you did a great job making sure that they saw that project.
Welcome, Sue. I'm your neighbor in the city of Fairfax, so hopefully I know some of the people in your district use our library, so I look forward to working with you on the board. After the meeting yesterday, one of the things they talked about is being sure that students have transportation to get to the libraries. And I didn't speak up yesterday, but I did check with my neighbor who's on the city school board. I had remembered that city students in the Fairfax Catherine Johnson Pyramid can ride the Q bus with their IDs. And the Q bus is a circulator bus that goes throughout the city of Fairfax from the Vienna Metro Station to George Mason University. So students actually who live in Vienna in the metro station area can also have the school bus and ride. And I look forward to really developing that, especially I was thinking of summer reading programs, being sure that students can take buses to get to summer reading programs if their parents can't take them. And even, probably some 5th and 6th graders could ride buses by themselves. My husband swears his mother sent him to downtown Philadelphia on a bus when he was 6 years old to go to the eye doctor. I kind of question it, but 5th and 6th graders maybe. Anyway, and if you missed the desegregation report and didn't hear Fran say it yesterday, the Friends of the Virginia Room are for their annual meeting on Sunday afternoon at 2:00. Our speakers will be Chris and Suzanne from the Virginia Room staff, and they will be doing the presentation they did for us. So if anybody wants to go, email me and I will send you the Zoom link for the program. And finally, a couple months ago, I challenged all of you to see how much money you could save checking out library books. And I just wanted to keep you all abreast. Yesterday, I hit $5,527.25 in money saved. Check out a book, take a look and see how much you've saved. And I challenge somebody to beat me by the end of the year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just have some brief comments, and I want to say thank you to the library staff. And the reason is, when I listened to the Board of Supervisors yesterday praise the library through the pandemic and talk about some of the compliments that they received for the library, I felt a sense of pride because I know the people working behind the scenes. And so I want to say thank you for that, first of all. Second of all, I want to say welcome, Sue. I was just thinking that we should all have name tags because you're going to have to know all these people sitting back here too, as well as us. And so I hate to give you guys more work, but I do think that that's important so that she knows who everyone is. And then the third thing I want to mention, I mean, there's always a discussion regarding diversity. And I just want to talk about why that's important. I do a lot of mentoring in the community, and the expression that was told to me recently was, Mr. Fox, when we see somebody like you in that position, it's like a superpower overcomes us, and we now know that we can get there. So think about that when you think about diversity. And the diversity doesn't mean substandard. It means an opportunity. So thank you.
I too want to echo thanks that have been said. I don't have to go through them all. I think yesterday's meeting was good. Again, technology accepted perhaps. But I was very happy that the supervisors all seemed very supportive of the library, and thanks to the staff for getting us through the pandemic. And of course, wonderful deputy director there who got us through so much, including Burke. So thank you, and I'm going to have to use the Tyson's library at some point. I did want to convey that the women from the Dominion Garden Club that are working and work a lot at that Burke Center Pollinator Garden. It's right in front of the library, so I see it a lot because I'm resetting books on the inside for the used book sale. Thanked me to, and asked me to thank the board for the award. So thank you all.
Thank you. There was another program that I wanted to mention. It was the Color of Law with Richard Rothstein. That was an amazing program. My husband and I have been having disagreements about structural or institutional racism. And I remember from the training that we had, the whole discussion of laws governing housing. And that was the focus of his talk. And afterward, Bill agreed with me. So, whenever you can win an argument, your husband, it's terrific. One of the things that he said that had I gotten a chance to really participate in the meeting with supervisors yesterday, I wanted to say that I copied a quote from him, like a uniform policy affects different groups differently. The disparate impact of a policy. And along with that, of course, I was thinking in terms of fines, but then I was really upset by our public speaker today. I mean, it was, as a former public on the desk all the time, that was the worst thing to hear about a customer being ignored. And that I've been upset the whole evening from that. And then I have the question about the cancellation of cards. So I'm sure Jessica's probably thinking already that she's gonna look that up for us.
Yes.
If that's a misinterpretation or just what, but I do feel the need for more information on that issue. There's a public service statement that one dissatisfied customer tells as many people as possible, and a happy customer does not. And so whenever one person, it just makes my antenna go up and like, oh my gosh, what can we do? So, but at any rate, and that on top of yesterday's nightmare, I'm beaten down, but I think we're going to be okay. And thank you all on that cheery note.
Excuse me.
Does anybody have anything else?
Fran, I just want to piggyback with what he said earlier, just a few minutes ago. I was so impressed at the way that our audience, the people that we were recognizing today, how they were really, really honored to be recognized for the work that they're doing for the libraries. And then when I saw the garden ladies get flowers from a person who's a leadership of them probably, that it is quite an honor that I'm glad we take it as seriously as we do, and we spend the time that we do have and then the treats in the room. you just can't, you just can't say enough that these are the people who are also our ambassadors and advocates, and we treat them well, and they serve the library system extremely well. But it's because, my first meeting was in recognition program, and this one is and it's really something that the more we can do of that, the better off we all are.
Very true. Anybody else? Entertain a motion to adjourn. Is that good? Okay. We have to vote on that. I can't remember anything. Okay, all in favor, we are adjourned, thank you.